I've just started the process of learning how farming in the UK works at a time when farming's changing anyway, but I'm trying. That's all. I wouldn't go around saying I'm a farmer, because I'm not.
£21 million from the same barley nobody wanted to buy. Jeremy Clarkson walked onto a farm with zero experience, grew 16 tons of potatoes, and watched every single one of them rot. The supermarkets didn't even call back. But that humiliation became the starting point of something the entire British food industry never saw coming. A beer that failed its first taste test. A pub built from a council's worst nightmare. A beef business that forced the same supermarkets that once ignored him to come begging. How did one stubborn man dismantle a 30-year-old broken system with nothing but a camera crew and a bad temper? Stay with us. The truth is about to be revealed. The day the system showed its true face, Jeremy Clarkson did not grow up farming. He grew up on television, cars, speed, noise, and controversy. For most of his career, the closest he got to agriculture was driving a combine harvester into something expensive on Top Gear and laughing about it afterward. Farming was not his world. It was not even close to his world. So when he bought Diddley Squat Farm in the Cotswolds, the reaction from most people was predictable. Rich celebrities buy land, films it, gets bored after 2 seasons, quietly sells up and moves on. Nobody in the British food industry lost any sleep over it. Nobody in the supermarket boardrooms called an emergency meeting. It was, in their eyes, a television project wearing farming clothes. Caleb Cooper saw it differently. Caleb had been working that land for years before Clarkson arrived. He was not a TV personality. He was not there for the cameras. He was there because farming was the only life he had ever known. Every field, every season, every crop, every problem that shows up quietly before it turns into a disaster. When Clarkson walked onto the farm with his enthusiasm and his complete lack of agricultural experience, Caleb already knew exactly how the first chapter of this story was going to end. He had seen it before, just without the camera crew. Year 1, Clarkson plants potatoes, 16 tons of them. He is genuinely, openly excited about it. The logic in his head is clean and simple. You grow the thing, you sell the thing, you make the money. How hard can it be? That question, asked by someone who has never dealt with the British food supply chain, is one of the most expensive questions a person can ask. The supermarkets are not interested, and this is where the story stops being about one man's bad year and starts being about something much bigger. 16 tons of potatoes sounds like a serious amount of food. To anyone outside the agricultural supply chain, it sounds like more than enough to sell. But to a supermarket buyer, someone who manages contracts that move thousands of tons through centralized distribution networks, 16 tons is not even worth a phone call back. The minimum volumes that major British supermarkets require from their suppliers are so large that a small farm like Diddley Squat does not exist on their radar. You are either big enough to supply them at the scale and consistency they demand, or you are invisible to them entirely. There is no middle ground. There is no start small and grow with us. The door is either open or it is not. And for most British farmers, it is not. So Clarkson turns to the roadside, an honesty box, direct sales to passing customers. And here is the brutal arithmetic that nobody talks about on television. 16 tons is too small for the supermarkets, and too large for a roadside honesty box. That gap too big for local, too small for industrial, is where British farmers fall through every single day. It is a structural trap built into the food system. And it has been there for decades. Government reports have named it. Parliamentary debates have discussed it. NFU letters have complained about it. Nothing has changed. By the time Clarkson figures out his next move, the potatoes have rotted in the barn. 5/2 and 35. That is the number written on the receipt. That is the full financial return on months of planting, growing, hoping, and planning. He builds a shop. And by the time the shop is ready and open, the potatoes are already gone, not sold, rotted, The timeline of small-scale British farming does not wait for construction projects to finish. Now here is the moment that changed everything, and it did not happen on the farm. It happened in living rooms across Britain when that episode aired. The public watched a man lose money on his own potatoes, and they did not shrug. They did not scroll past. They got angry, not politely uncomfortable, not mildly sympathetic in the way people feel when they read a sad statistic in a newspaper. Genuinely, personally, viscerally angry. The kind of anger that makes you want to do something about it right now. Tonight, this weekend. People drove 90 minutes to a shed in Oxfordshire to spend £50 on a candle and a jar of honey. Not because they needed the candle, not because diddly squat honey is objectively the finest honey in England, but it felt like doing something real. It felt like putting money directly into the hands of someone the system had treated unfairly, and cutting out the machine that had made that unfairness invisible for 30 years. That anger is not a side note in this story. That anger is the entire foundation. Without it, there is no beer brand. Without it, there is no pub with a 360-space car park. Without it, there is no £21.3 million turnover. The fury of ordinary British people watching a man's potatoes rot on television is the single most important ingredient in everything that follows. The system had always worked this way. Farmers had always been squeezed. The numbers had always been this bad. The gap between farm gate price and supermarket shelf price had always been this wide. The difference is that this time, it happened on camera. And once people saw it, really saw it, in a human and specific and unavoidable way, they could not unsee it. Clarkson did not set out to expose the British food system. He set out to grow potatoes. The system exposed itself. And from that exposure, something the industry had never anticipated began to grow. Build it, watch it get demolished. Clarkson now has something that most people trying to change an industry spend years desperately trying to build and never quite manage. He has a farm with land and animals and infrastructure. He has a camera crew documenting every decision in real time. And he has a vision, a genuinely clear, logical, workable vision for what he wants to build. Not a hobby farm, not a television set, a real, functioning, farm-to-fork operation that proves British food can work differently. The plan is straightforward. Sell beef directly to the public. Cut out every single middleman standing between the farm and the person eating the food. No supermarket buyer decides what a British cow is worth after running it through a procurement model. No distribution network extracts a margin at every step in the chain. Just the land, the animals, an honest price, and a customer who knows exactly where their food came from. To make that work, he needs somewhere for people to come. So he builds it. Cattle arrive at diddly squat. Pigs start getting raised. The lambing barn gets converted into a proper, sit-down, farm-to-fork restaurant in the Cotswolds, where people can drive out, walk the land if they want to, understand the operation, and then eat food that came from the fields they can see from the window. It is not a complicated idea. It is actually one of the oldest ideas in food. You grow it, you cook it, you serve it to people nearby. The complication is that the British food system spent the last 50 years building structures designed specifically to make that simple idea as difficult as possible. The demand, at least, is not in question. People are already coming to the farm in numbers nobody planned for. Queuing down the lane, blocking the road, driving from Birmingham and London, and further, just to stand on the actual ground of the farm they watched on television. On the road outside, right now then, the West Oxfordshire District Council arrives, and the story turns. The enforcement notices are not vague. They are specific, legal, and comprehensive. The restaurant is unlawful. It must close. 6 weeks to restore the land to its original agricultural condition. The tables go, the toilets go, the landscaping materials go. Every physical thing Clarkson built to give people a reason to come and spend money on British food gone, by council order. The car park extension refused. The road outside can stay blocked. because the council has decided that protecting the visual character of the Cotswold countryside takes priority over providing somewhere for the thousands of people who are already coming to actually park. Shop products restricted to items produced on the farm itself or within 16 miles. The candles which people are specifically making trips to buy sit right on the edge of that radius. The beef from a quality British farm outside the zone is a problem. Every single thing Clarkson built to go around the supermarket system got strangled by planning law instead. Not by the supermarkets, not by competitors, by a local planning committee. Think carefully about what that actually means in practical terms. Real money was spent, real work was done, real demand existed, not projected demand. Not hoped for demand, but actual human beings physically present on the road outside, ready to spend money. And the council looked at all of that and said, tear it down, restore the land, start the planning process again. For most people, for almost anyone running a small business facing this, that is the end. You lose the restaurant, you accept the restrictions, you scale down what you were trying to build and find a way to operate within the rules as they exist, not the rules as you wish they were. The system does not want you to succeed outside its existing structures. You learn to work inside them, or you stop. Clarkson did not stop. He filmed everything. Every enforcement notice became an episode. Every council letter became a storyline that millions of people followed. Every refusal got reported on the front pages of national newspapers. Series 2 and Series 3 of Clarkson's farm documented the entire planning battle in real time, with no PR filter, no official statement, no carefully managed narrative. Just what was actually happening, on camera, as it happened. The council spent public money, ratepayers' money, fighting a planning dispute with a television presenter, and in doing so, they accidentally created the most effective advertisement for British direct farming that has ever been broadcast. Every enforcement notice delivered to Diddley Squat was watched by millions of people who then understood, in concrete and personal terms, exactly why British farming is struggling, not as an abstract policy problem, as a real story about a real place being told no at every turn. By the time the legal dust had settled, the shop had confirmed planning permission. The car park eventually got approved, and the restaurant, rather than dying as the council intended, had simply been redirected into a form they could not block in the same way: a pub. A former roadside place called The Windmill, sitting on 5 acres near Burford, is available for under £1 million. Clarkson buys it, renames it The Farmer's Dog, renovates it completely, films every chaotic step of the renovation for Series 4, and opens it in August 2024. The council's enforcement notices did not kill the idea, they just pushed it slightly down the road to somewhere the same rules could not reach it. That is the lesson buried inside this part of the story. The obstacles did not stop the direction of travel. They changed the vehicle. And the new vehicle turned out to be better than the original plan. The pub that changed the rules. When The Farmer's Dog opened in August 2024, the response was immediate and completely disproportionate to what anyone in the British hospitality industry would have predicted for a pub opening. In a field near Burford, hundreds of people queued for hours on opening day. A 360-space car park built in a nearby field specifically to handle the expected demand filled up. The pub employed over 140 people from day one. Within weeks, it had become one of the most talked about restaurant openings in Britain that year, not just among farming and food circles, but in mainstream national media. The crowd was not surprising. Clarkson had spent 4 years building an audience that was emotionally invested in seeing this specific thing succeed. They were always going to show up, but the crowd is not the interesting part of this story. What Clarkson chose to put on the menu and, more specifically, what he chose to leave off it is the interesting part. Because that decision is where The Farmer's Dog stops being a celebrity pub and starts being a genuine statement about how the British food system could work differently. 100% British ingredients. Not mostly British. Not British, where operationally convenient. Not British. with a small print note about certain imported items being used during supply shortages. Every single component on every plate, the beef, the pork, the lamb, the vegetables, the cheese, the beer, the spirits, even the cooking oil used in the kitchen, is sourced from British farms. No Coca-Cola on the menu, no avocados, no black pepper. If it was not grown or produced somewhere in Britain, it does not come through the door. That rule has no exceptions. This sounds simple. It is not simple. Building a full restaurant menu around a 100% British sourcing commitment means solving supply chain problems that most kitchens never have to think about. Black pepper does not grow in Britain. Many of the standard ingredients that professional kitchens treat as basic stock items simply do not exist in a British-only supply chain. Every gap has to be filled with something that does exist here, which often means working directly with small British producers who are not set up to supply at restaurant scale, negotiating terms that work for both sides, and absorbing the higher costs that come with sourcing outside the industrial food network. A Michelin-starred chef who visited the farmer's dog in its early months described it as one of the most genuinely committed supply chain operations he had seen at any kind of scale in British hospitality. That is a specific and serious compliment from someone who understands exactly what genuine supply chain commitment actually costs and requires. The physical operation has expanded well beyond a single pub. There is now a butcher shop attached, called Hawkstone and Chops, where customers can buy the same beef, pork and lamb served inside the restaurant, cut and packaged to take home. A farm shop, a grab-and-go kitchen, a bottle shop stocking Hawkstone beer and British spirits. Not a place you pass through, but a place you make a specific journey to. But the thing that matters most about the farmer's dog is not the food quality or the visitor numbers or the expanding retail operation. The thing that matters is what it proves. British supermarkets have spent 30 years telling farmers, consumers, and policymakers the same story. British people will not pay a fair price for food. The consumer wants cheap. The consumer does not want to pay the real cost of British farming. If we raise prices, they will buy the cheaper imported product, and British farming will lose out anyway. So the squeeze is necessary. The low farm gate prices are not cruel. They are the market reflecting what consumers actually want. The farmer's dog blows that argument apart. People are driving from London, from Manchester, from further and queuing for hours to eat at a pub, where the menu costs reflect the real price of sourcing food ethically from British farms. They are not doing it reluctantly. They are doing it enthusiastically, repeatedly, and telling their friends to do the same. The demand is not manufactured. It is not driven by novelty that will wear off after a few months. It is driven by something much more durable, the human desire to understand where your food actually comes from, and to feel like the money you spend on it goes to someone who deserves it. The beer nobody wanted to exist here is the number that changes this entire story from an interesting farming project into something the British food industry genuinely cannot ignore. £21.3 million. That is what Hawkstone beer turned over in the year to March 2025, up from £7.8 million the year before. Revenue nearly tripled in 12 months. Hawkstone starts in 2021, not because Clarkson woke up one morning wanting to be a brewer, because the farm needed new income. Government subsidies were being cut. Diddly squat needed to generate money from multiple sources, or it would not survive as a working farm. And Clarkson had barley, good British barley, grown at diddly squat, the same barley that he could sell as a commodity to a processor for almost nothing, the same grain that British farmers had been growing for centuries and getting squeezed on price for decades. Instead of selling it cheaply, he decided to add the value himself. It does not go smoothly at first. The first batch of Hawkstone fails a blind taste test against a local brand. That is genuinely embarrassing your own beer, made from your own farm's barley, losing to something off a nearby shelf. Back to the brewery. Start again. Get it right. They launch. People love it. It becomes the best-selling beer on Amazon almost immediately. Then in 2023, the cider had a packaging fault. The bottles are at risk of exploding. Clarkson has to issue a public safety warning. His beer brand is literally a hazard. For a normal business, especially a young brand trying to establish itself, a product recall, combined with public embarrassment and social media ridicule, is often fatal. Brands have died from less. Hawkstone did not die sales for the year to March 2025. £21, £3 million. The Sunday Times now ranks Hawkstone as the 23rd fastest growing private company in Britain. It is stocked in Waitrose, Morrison's, Sainsbury's, and over 2,000 pubs across the country. Read that again, slowly. The same supermarkets that spent 30 years paying British grain farmers almost nothing for their barley. The same buyers who decided what a ton of British grain was worth and set that price low enough to keep farmers permanently dependent, are now paying a premium to put Clarkson's beer on their shelves. Beer made from that exact barley. Beer they have to stock because their own customers are already asking for it. He did not write letters asking them to pay farmers more. He did not form a working group. He did not petition anyone. He just added the value himself and sold it back to them at a price they had to accept. That is the most important business lesson in this entire story. You cannot beg a powerful buyer to treat you fairly, but you can make a product their customers want badly enough that the buyer has no choice but to come to you. Hawkstone is that product. The machine behind the magic. Step back from the individual pieces, the farm, the beer, the pub, the shop, and look at what Clarkson actually built as a complete system. The farm grows barley. The barley makes the beer sells in the pub serves the beef, the pork and the lamb from British farmers who get paid a fair price. The show films all of it. Millions of people watch the show. The people who watch come to Oxfordshire. They spend money in the shop and the pub. That money funds the next thing. Every part of the operation makes every other part stronger. The show gives the farm an audience. The audience gives the products credibility. The credibility gives the supermarkets a reason to stock them. The supermarket presence funds more production. More production means more British farmers getting paid fairly. It is a closed loop, and at the center of it, often overlooked in the celebrity version of this story, is Caleb Cooper. Caleb was born farming. He knows every field, every crop, every problem, before it becomes a disaster. He is the reason the farm actually functions. He is the reason people believe the whole operation is real and not a television set. No marketing department in London could have invented Caleb. He is the proof that this is not a vanity project. But the machine has real vulnerabilities too. In November 2024, the Labour government announced inheritance tax changes that would force farming families to pay 40% death duties on agricultural land, above £1 million threshold. For a working farm that has been in one family for 3 generations, that can mean selling half the land just to pay the bill when a parent dies. Clarkson leads 15,000 to 20,000 farmers to Westminster in protest. He is now the most visible face of British farming politics in the country. That is an extraordinary position, and it is also a target on his back the size of a barn door. Every politician who wants to score points knows exactly where to aim. Every journalist looking for a story knows the address. The farm tax fight is not over. The planning battles are not finished. The pub is still finding its financial feet. The empire is impressive. And it is also fragile in ways that an FTSE 100 food business never has to worry about. And yet, a man who made £5, 35, from a filing cabinet full of potatoes now runs a supply chain that includes a nationally known farm shop, a pub with 140 employees, a beer brand doing £21, £3 million a year, and a British farming advocacy platform that puts 20,000 people outside Parliament and makes the Prime Minister's office pay attention. The barley nobody wanted became beer that Sainsbury's begs to stock. The beef that could not get a fair price from a supermarket buyer now sells out of a pub where people queue for hours to eat it. The potatoes that rotted in a barn became the story that made a nation remember what British food was supposed to feel like. The entire British supermarket industry had the land, the money, the supply chains, the data, and the distribution. They had every advantage in the world, and they spent 30 years using all of it to squeeze British farmers for another half-penny per litre. Clarkson spent 5 years using a camera crew, bad temper, and Caleb's actual farming knowledge to build something that feels more real to British people than anything that comes out of a Tesco distribution centre. That is not luck. That is what happens when the system leaves enough people angry for long enough, and then one of them is stubborn enough to actually do something about it. £5.35 to £21.3 million. Same farm, same man, different idea about who the food was actually for. Clarkson did not fix British farming. He did not bring down the supermarkets. The system is still broken in 100 ways he has not touched. But he proved something nobody had bothered to prove before, that British people will pay a fair price when they understand what they are paying for. That is the part that should keep every supermarket executive awake at night. Not the beer, not the pub, not the farm. The fact that trust real, earned, visible trust turned rotting potatoes into a £21 million empire. If this story made you think differently about where your food comes from, share it with one person who needs to hear it.